We are going to be talking about the fear brain versus the nervous system, what it is, how it works, and why it is important to know the difference when you're trying to heal trauma. I am Pauline, and I am so happy you are here because if you've been on your healing journey for a while, you have probably come across the term nervous system. You haven't heard of the term fear brain, but it is important that you know because it is completely different from the nervous system. And knowing what the fear brain is has been missing from this whole conversation. So if you don't know what the nervous system is or what that points to, it usually gets mentioned in a bigger theory, which is the polyvagal theory by Stephen Porges, which is a beautiful theory that explains how our nervous systems, which is the brain, the spinal cord, and our nerves, kind of co-regulate, co-work, but co-regulate also with other people, and what kind of influence it has on how we feel, on our stress levels, on our behaviors. And there's essentially three different states that the nervous system can be in: the relaxed state, the immobilized state, and the mobilized state. And it can sometimes get stuck in one of the states. It's very interesting and it's very important, but it is not enough to actually heal trauma and therefore also heal the fearful avoidant attachment style, which we talk a lot about on this channel. And the fearful avoidant attachment style is just one of the most complex attachment styles with the most complex trauma. That doesn't mean that it is unhealable, because it is, but you need more than just the knowledge of the nervous system, which really is valuable, don't get me wrong, but you need more than that in order to really understand what is needed to heal the fearful avoidant attachment style. And that is where the fear brain comes in. So the fear brain is that part of your brain that is trying to protect you. It just wants to keep you safe, no matter what. It is not interested in you being happy. It just wants to keep you safe. And the more trauma you have, whether that's abuse, severe abuse, complex PTSD, just small things happening every day, but the more trauma that you have, the more strong your fear brain is. And why this is so important to understand is because the fear brain has its completely own logic, which is very illogical to our rational brain. And whereas the nervous system, having knowledge about the nervous system, can explain why your body feels the way it does. You know in what state you are. There are exercises to get out of that state into the relaxed state. But what happens when you get pulled into the immobilized or mobilized states constantly? And it's really hard to get out of that state and into the relaxed state. Why do you keep sabotaging yourself? Why do you feel so much resistance to being in that relaxed state? Why is your body so prone to stress? Why do you get triggered all the time? Those are answers the polyvagal theory and the nervous system usually don't answer, because that is where the fear brain has an influence. So in this video, we're just going to dive into the differences, why the fear brain is or why the fear brain has its own psychology. And then in a separate video, I'm going to name 5 key differences to really make it very clear. So the fear brain has its completely own psychology. It's really the psychological counterpart to the nervous system. So the nervous system is very body-based, which is amazing. That has been missing for a long time. So I'm really happy that it exists. But it's very body-based. And when you've been struggling with fear for a long time, you have probably experienced that it has its own logic. Sometimes you get triggered and it just doesn't make sense that you get triggered. You don't know why. You don't know why you suddenly feel this way. And it's more than just, oh, your body kind of remembers something from the past and therefore this happens. Your fear brain has its own logic in trying to protect you, and so you can sometimes get triggered by things that just don't really make sense. It's not as black and white as the trauma causes your body to be in one of the states, the nervous system states. The fear brain really has an influence on how you feel and in what kind of nervous system state you are. And when you're trying to heal the fearful avoidant attachment style, which in this attachment style, the fear brain is usually the strongest, and you have what I call a fear dominant brain, where just fear is the absolute most dominant thing that there is. It reigns over everything. Then you need to understand that the fear brain and the nervous system. Understanding the nervous system definitely helps, but it won't be enough to just know how to get your nervous system into that relaxed state. You also have to know how to why it happens that you get pulled out of that relaxed state, or why you feel so much resistance to it, and how to heal the roots of that. So the fear brain has its own psychology, which doesn't make any sense. This is why it's usually so hard to heal the fearful avoidant attachment style, because a lot of really well-meaning psychologists and therapists make assumptions that are just not true for the fearful avoidant. And when you know the logic, when you know the psychology of the fear brain, it makes more sense. It makes more sense. So the logic and psychology of the fear brain explain how fast you heal, which means that if you don't know anything about the fear brain and how it works, you will probably try to heal. For instance, doing all of those exercises to get out of an immobilized or mobilized fear state, nervous system state, to relaxed, can actually trigger the fear brain, because it doesn't want you to get to that relaxed state, because that to the fear brain is not safe. To your body, it is safe. Your body loves being in that relaxed state. It wants to be just in that rest and digest, and for your body, that's good. But it's your fear brain that says, no, when you relax, things go wrong. You have to be alert. You have to be hypervigilant. You have to be on all the time. That's fear brain logic. That's the psychological counterpart of why it can be so hard to get into that relaxed state. And if you work against the fear brain, so just imagine that you know a lot about the nervous system, which again is really valuable. I am not saying it's not. But you keep working on getting into that relaxed state. But you're noticing also that you're getting out of it again and again. And also trying to get into that relaxed state, it feels so hard, and you feel so much resistance. It can be that you're already working against the fear brain, because the fear brain just wants to keep you alert. It wants to keep you in one of those fear states, because only then are you paying attention. So if you work against the fear brain, trying to heal when it's not ready to heal, when your fear brain doesn't think it is safer to be healed, to get to that place of being healed, you can be stuck for years. You can try to heal for years. You can work so hard on trying to your body to calm down. Your body wants to calm down, but your fear brain doesn't. And so knowing how to relax your body is not the same as it being safe for your fear brain to relax your body and to get into that rest and digest. And also, the difference between knowing about the nervous system and knowing about the fear brain is that when you don't know about the fear brain and how it works, you can be healing things that aren't really relevant, that aren't really going to move the needle. It is not as black and white as you just have to heal the trauma. Knowing what the fear brain needs makes it so much easier to heal the trauma. And knowing the fear brain explains the moments you have resistance to healing. You have resistance to getting into that relaxed state. The nervous system, when you would just look at the nervous system by itself, it would be happy to get into that relaxed state. But that's not always the case, right? We get pulled out, we have resistance to getting out of that, and that is explained by fear brain logic. So all of this makes it so different from the nervous system, because the nervous system doesn't have its own psychology necessarily. It doesn't have illogical beliefs that are just very counterintuitive to the rational brain that can keep you stuck in beliefs or in states that don't really serve you from an objective viewpoint, but they make sense to the fear brain. So the way I kind of see it is that the fear brain heavily influences the nervous system. The fear brain influences in what state you are, in what state you get stuck, in what state your body kind of, or your fear brain wants to be in order to keep you safe, why it can be hard to get to that relaxed state. So there's a big difference, I think. But they do work together, obviously, because everything works together in your body. But as I've learned more about the nervous system, it started becoming a thing after I had already healed the fearful avoidant attachment style and was already doing this work. And it's been so interesting to see that theory just take root. And again, I'm really happy it did, because that was missing for a long time too. The body focused approach. But the psychological counterpart to fear is really what has been missing from that whole conversation. It's like the nervous system was an important puzzle piece, but the fear brain is such an important puzzle piece, and even more so in healing the fearful avoidant attachment style, because it's so fear dominant. So they are different, and I want you to know both of them. So please let me know in the comments whether this was valuable, whether this was clear enough what the fear brain is and what the nervous system is, and what the difference between those two is. Also, let me know whether knowing more about the nervous system has helped you and what you've noticed, because recently I had a call with an amazing soul going through one of my programs, and he said, I've learned so much about the nervous system and it has helped me, but I keep getting pulled back into one of the states I don't want to be in. I keep feeling stressed, so it feels like something is sabotaging it all the time. And that's when we really got to talking about the fear brain, and that's why I'm making this video, because I just want you to know the difference, and I want you to know that it makes sense that you get pulled back, and that doesn't mean, because he said, does this mean that I have to just keep doing those exercises for the rest of my life? Which kind of also feels unfair, right? Because there's so many people who can just do those exercises and then they get into that relaxed state and their body kind of stays in there for most of the time. And then when you have the fearful avoidant attachment style and you have all this trauma, you get just pulled out of that state again and again and again, and it just takes more work to get back into it. And so, no, you don't have to. You don't have to keep doing those exercises for the rest of your life and have to work so hard at feeling relaxed. You get to go to the roots. We get to go to the roots and heal it. But for that, it's really important to understand what the fear brain is, because the fear brain heavily influences the nervous system, but also your healing journey, and how much it will allow you to release and let go. And that's what you will hear a lot about on this channel, because I'm so passionate about this, and I just want to make healing as easy as possible for you, because it's already quite overwhelming. So again, let me know in the comments. I always love hearing from you. And I am so happy you are here, and I will see you in the next one.